This is Steve Zeltzer with Workweek, and we're going to examine the situation in Turkey, and particularly the development of gangs, gangster capitalism and corruption, and the crisis of imperialism and how that's affected Turkey. Turkey has been through military dictatorships, and the economy there is in shambles, and Erdogan has privatized large parts of Turkey, and as takes place in the United States, when you have privatization, you have corruption. And the developments now in Turkey are reaching a crescendo with a mafia gangster who worked with the government, who is now coming clean with videos and has become a YouTube celebrity with 23 million viewers in Turkey. This is a daily program now. His program is watched by 23 million people in Turkey, and he's exposing the corruption, the chicanery, the illegal activities of the government, and the capitalists who are ripping off the economy in Turkey. And joining us is Mehmet Bayram. He was a reporter and has been researching this history. So welcome to Workweek.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for hosting me today. And you're absolutely right that there is a crisis. There's a crisis of economy. There's a political crisis, and a crisis of being dependent on imperialism. But this is nothing new. I mean, it has hit the the roof right now. But since its inception, gangs have been an integral part of the Turkish state. So that's why we are having a lot of trouble trying to analyze the situation. And unfortunately, the liberals want to isolate the parts that make the whole, which is the government, the state, the capitalists, and the gangs.
Well, let's talk about the history of Turkey, because the history of Turkey is, you say, connected with the development of gangs and that kind of thing. Why don't we talk about the role of gangs in Turkey?
Very good. Look, Turkey was established with the Armenian genocide. It was established with a genocide. But who did the genocide? The government organized gangs.
And this is the Kemal.
No, before Kemal, it was in the Ottoman times, in Ottoman Empire. And the gangs were responsible. Even the previous Ottoman Sultan named some gangs after his name. They were organized by the government and set on the non-Muslims. And it went to such a proportion that some of the non-Muslims, Armenians were targeted, but some of other non-Muslims, like the Assyrians, the government did not want to harm them. And it had strict orders not to touch them. But the gangs were so into it that they didn't care, and so the Assyrians were also slaughtered in this. So a country that is born with the gang mentality continued that way. Ataturk started a liberation war in 1923, but who did he fight with? It was the gangs again. He employed the gangs, both in the northern and in the western part of the country, to wage the war, to make sure that the Armenians never came back to take their properties, because Turkey is established on the stolen property of Armenians. And it's very interesting, and we have to note this, is that Armenians, because of their unique position of being in relationship to Europeans, were both socialists in the labor movement and also the capitalists in the capitalist development side. So there's a contradictory thing there, because Armenians were both in the working class environment, and also they were the leaders to change Ottomans into a capitalist country, which it was not. So in this state, getting rid of Armenians killed both a socialist tradition and the hopes of a capitalist country. Just imagine, in early 1900s, having parties, political parties, that identified themselves with Marxism. We're talking about Armenian parties there. identifying that. And it is for the like, imagine in that time saying that people should live equally, Turkish, Arab, Armenian, Greeks, and they even mention the so-called gypsies, the Roma people. It is a tremendous progressive platform to be in.
And that was a threat to Ataturk?
It was a tremendous threat to both the Ittihad, his party before, and in 1923. 1923, he employs the street gangs to fight in Aegean coast. Again, a very progressive gangs who were already fighting the Greeks were taken to Ataturk's side with a lot of promises, but then they got rid of those gangs. Ataturk employed a gang member, a notorious murderer, a killer. He was called Topal Osman, and he made Topal Osman his personal bodyguard. But just like what we are seeing today, the bodyguard got understood that he had a lot of power, and with or without Ataturk, he started to attack the representatives and to gain money, and he started, all kinds of illicit issues. Finally, when he killed a representative, Ataturk knew that he was the next to go, and he left his home that was actually stolen from Armenians and went and hid at the railroad station to be able to live when Topal Osman attacked that night. And there was a big clash and he was killed. But it did not end there. So we are seeing a crisis of capital, a crisis of the state that we're seeing.
Okay.
Yeah. What happened is that it did not stop there. 1955, when we come to 1955, the Turkish state orchestrated a fictional event in Greece. They bombed the house where Ataturk was born. But even before this event, the gangs had prepared the people for an uprising. It was a planned cleansing of Turkey from non-Turks. So what happened is gangs already ready with the sticks and the weapons and everything, and the newspapers had their designs already done in Turkey to publish when the bomb went off that the Greeks had bombed Ataturk's home. So they immediately published this, and gangs attacked the Greek citizens of Turkey, 1955. More than 200 women were raped. In their entire stores and buildings were ransacked. And
so this was an organized pogrom.
Exactly.
By the government.
Exactly. But
by the Turkish government.
By the Turkish government. The reason is that right at that time, the Cyprus issue was boiling. And Turkey wanted to attack Greeks and wanted to get Cyprus. So they prepared this so that the people would attack the Greek citizens, and they were all thrown out of Turkey.
So they whipped up a nationalist frenzy to grab territory in Cyprus. Is that
Exactly.
what you're saying? This whole thing was organized.
Was organized.
Who organized this?
The government itself. The government itself, because we have to understand that there are several legs of what Turkish state stands on. One is nationalism and religion. They are together, but this has an extension, which we're going to get into NATO now, because those are the years that something changed in Turkey. Turkey became a NATO member. But with that, there was some element that was used in Turkey, which was nationalism. Okay, Turkey had, or Ottomans had, historical problems with Russia. They had many wars. And so after the 1945, the Second World War, when the United States was leaving Europe, they made sure that they left behind structures that would fight communism and working class movements. And these were all secret armies. United States and NATO calls these stay-behind armies. It's their terminology, not mine. Stay-behind armies. There was a lot of discussion that around these, and it has always been, the governments and the United States kept denying it until I believe, first of all, it happened in Turkey. Because of the Cyprus issues, the Social Democrat prime minister one day sees a request that comes to him that says that the special army needs to have funds from your, like a secret funds. And he had never heard of this army unit called Special Operations, Special Army. So he says, what is this? They say, well, up until now, it was United States who was paying this army. It's a Turkish army. Prime Minister has no idea about it. It operates secretly. It is organized all around the country at the very top level, and the Prime Minister has never even heard about it.
And what year was this?
1973, 74. So then he understands it. So he wants to talk about this. He says, what the hell is going on here? And all the military officers say, even a very high official says, if he knows about it or he doesn't know about it, he needs to shut up about it.
So it was a secret military operation?
Secret military
supported by the United States?
Unit, yes. The United States cut the fundings, so they came to the Prime Minister to say, now you have to give us money because the United States is not paying us. He tries to examine this. He puts investigations on it. But then, very interestingly, there was an assassination attempt right after this. His bodyguard tries to kill him. And the gun that he tried disappears. Bullets that he used is never in Turkish military, army, police, whatever. But the thing is this. While he is trying to investigate this, in Italy, something happens. A lot of bombs are going on in public places. In one place, a group of workers who came to deposit their extra earnings to the bank, a bomb explodes and 83 of them are killed. And a lot
This was in Italy?
In Italy, yes. So immediately, the Italian government says that this is the work of the Red Brigades. And everybody believes them. And there's a hatred against Red Brigades. But when the investigation starts, suddenly they see that the bombs that were made and did not explode, it's not an amateur job. It is, the bombs are used C4 explosives from NATO. Only NATO has it at that time. And these are being used. So investigation goes, and Andreotti is his name. He goes he's even put in prison. But up until a certain point, he can deny it. But finally, in 1990, very interesting, when Desert Storm is happening, he finally says, yes, God damn it, there is an organization, secret organization of the military, controlled and operated and completely under the orders of NATO and the United States CIA. When this comes up, then it's a big problem for Europe, because then Germany starts the same investigation. They find out that throughout Germany, just like in Italy, in certain locations, caches of arms are kept secret. And only the high top and certain units in the army have access to these. Germany finds the same thing. Then Belgium. Then other countries. But we were too busy with the Desert Storm that we did not hear about these at that time. So then it is right now, they believe 16 countries had these secret clandestine armies that are operating under their armies, were organized by CIA as being called the stay-behind armies, that intervened in the democratic running of these countries. They intervened in elections. They bombed people and blamed the opposition, mostly the socialists. Greece came out with exactly the same thing. In 1967, Greece, the general fascist uprising, they were the instigators of this.
And that was supported by the United States.
Not only supported, but it was being organized by CIA. CIA denied it until, in Turkey, a military officer finds the CIA field manual, number 30 and 31. And this, a journalist finds this. And he says, I am going to expose this in the next coming days. Because it shows how the CIA should work in working class organizations. Infiltration, especially push them for violence, bomb here and there, kill people, and then blame the left for doing this, and then have them captured and control the left organizations, working class organizations. He said that he was going to expose this. Next day he disappeared. We never know what happened to him. Much later, an army colonel found the same thing, and he exposed it. That's how we know these. And once that was exposed in Turkey, Germany, France, somewhere, these started to come up, word by word, exactly the same manual, word by word. But one thing that's important to today's discussion is that it's not only the military that was doing this, but they had to recruit gangs. They had to set gangs up, organize them, and use them for their purposes. And what we have seen in those days, in Turkey especially, was that an army colonel called Turkesh started talking about nationalism and being Turkic. He was actually the liaison for CIA in Turkey, and he was the NATO's intelligence officer in Turkey. So he started to organize what is called the Grey Wolves. These are the working class people, kids, who are mostly, they don't have a job or anything. They organize this around the thought that Turks are better than. Let me ask you something. In the world today, one country that publishes and sells the most Hitler's Mein Kampf book, Turkey, number one in the world that reads Mein Kampf. It's going like hotcakes.
So these Grey Wolves, these gangs that were set up, what role have they played in the history of Turkey?
Oh, they are instrumental. What happened is, when the workers went on strike somewhere, anywhere, first the Grey Wolves would come there to beat them up. They were militant. They were trained in camps to how to fight, street fights, use weapons. And they were, most importantly, they were controlled by their, organization through this special army that is called by United States the Stay Behind Army. One proof of this, Ecevit, the Social Democrat Prime Minister, tried a lot to expose this. He could not. But so one day, when he goes to the East and he's doing his, visit, he's sitting with a very high-level general. So he knows he's not going to get any answer from them about this army. So he says, what if, he says, let's do a thought experiment that the Nazi party, MHP, National Action Party, Turkesh's party, the party of the Grey Wolves, what if their chief here is also the chief of the special army units? What if this could happen? And the general response, oh, don't worry about him. He's perfectly okay. He's a very good guy. We rely on him a lot. So they admit that the Nazi organization, the Grey Wolves, and the special army units that are the stay-behind army unit are working one and the same. But going beyond that, today's gangs, which we will come in a while, nearly all of them have come from the ranks of the Grey Wolves.
And the Grey Wolves, you say, had a political party as well.
They had a
What was the ideology of that political party?
Very good question. Now, we have to understand the relationship of Turkey and Germany. It's very interesting. Turkey entered the First World War without anybody attacking it. Just imagine an empire that is crumbling, falling apart at the end of its rope, and then it declares war on many other imperialists. Why? Because they were so close with Germans that they allowed 2 German ships that were being traced by British to come into their water, and they put Turkish flags on them to save them. And what happened a few days later? Those German ships went to Black Sea and bombed Russians. This is how Turkey entered the war. Why am I saying this? If you read Hitler, he says that he has one and only one teacher he learned everything from. It was Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. He says, if I learned anything, I learned all from Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. Racism, expelling people, purity of a race.
What books does he say that in?
Oh, I could find you. There's a book called Atatürk and Hitler. I think it's documented there. Not only that, Mussolini admires the guy. He's God to them. Okay, but this National Action Party comes into being in 1965 with the ideology that the Turkish race is the utmost of all races, and that Turks will conquer the world if they could just join forces with the other Turkic republics, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Azerbaijan, so on and so forth, which will give the power of Turks to rule the world again. But we know that behind this is the CIA and the NATO. Oh, let me tell you, in 1960 coup, military coup, this Turkish guy was the speaker of the coup.
And Turkish is what?
He's the guy who set up this National Action Party. He's the NATO liaison, intelligence officer, and he's the liaison to this military stay behind. He's the first one that takes the microphone as soon as the coup is made. You know what the first thing he says? We are loyal to our agreements with the United States. We are loyal to NATO. We are loyal to CENTO. He's crying out that. So this is the guy that forms the Grey Wolves and starts training the guerrilla, what is called, we used to call them guerrillas. And actually they came to me to recruit me into their ranks when I was in the secondary school. Okay? So, but what happens is that soon these gangs started to be used as the political force. In 1970s, what happened is the Armenian people outside of Turkey, they organized an army called Asala. And they started assassinating the Turkish diplomats. They killed quite a few. And Turkey then organized these Grey Wolves to go out and assassinate the Asala members. They killed quite a few too. And Asala was finished. But let's be clear, because we're going to talk about the state, the gangs, and capitalism. What finished Asala is not assassinations of the Grey Wolves and the Turkish state, but it was the French government actually. Because Asala went a step more than what was, killing the Turkish diplomats. They put a bomb in the Orly airport, and they killed a lot of French citizens. And so the government, just like that, attacked and finished them off in a matter of weeks. It shows you that the government, if they want to fight the gangs, if they want to, they would be gone. But the gangs serve a certain purpose, like we are seeing today. One other thing, now we are seeing the very highly politicization and the usage of the gangsters in political matters, but they are being trained as doing this for your country. They are fighting for their country. One person that emerged from it is Abdullah Chatlı, his name. He's a low-ranking militant, and he gets recruited by the government, and he organizes these gangs to fight for Turkey. Now, at that time, another militant kills a very, very prominent social democrat journalist. And he's caught, actually, and he's in prison. This Abdullah Chatlı goes and organizes the release of this, or the escape of this prisoner in prison. It's a military prison, and in order to for escape, they have to pass through 8 checkpoints, and they do this. So he takes this other militant who killed the journalist out, and after a few months he's in Europe, and what does he do? He tries to assassinate the Pope. So the ranks of the grey wolves produced these people, and immediately, I mean, that was a very good setup, because as soon as Pope was wounded, he did not die, and again Aja was captured, and he was in Italian prison. Every single day, a CIA official in the I don't know, he was a priest, came to visit Aja, and soon Aja started to say that those who tried to kill the Pope and behind him were the Bulgarians. At that time, Paul Henze, CIA station chief in Turkey, and I forgot her name now, very vicious, UN representative of Reagan in the US. They immediately, the minute the Pope was shot, they started doing the Bulgarian connection. But they forgot something. They were bringing the lifestyles of the Bulgarians to Aja to memorize and to give in court on how he worked with. But they forgot some minor detail in one of the houses, the plan of the house, and it became known in the trials that Aja was lying about the Bulgarian connection. When he was confronted, he finally said, okay, fine. It wasn't the Bulgarians, we did it. And Abdullah Chatlı, the one who made him escape, is the guy who brought the gun to me, and he's the one in the pictures escaping. So the matter was dropped. But right after that, we see in 1996, what happened is that, and this is related to privatization of a bank, a traffic accident happened. A Mercedes, very expensive Mercedes, hit a truck in Turkey, Susurluk. 3 people died. 1 escaped. The person who died, one of them was the highest police chief. The other one was Abdullah Chatlı. He was being wanted. He's a wanted fugitive from the Interpol. World Police is looking for him with red alerts. And Abdullah Chatlı's lover, a ex-Turkish beauty queen, was in the car. They died. And there was another Kurdish landlord, huge landlord, that the government was showering him with weapons to fight the PKK. He escaped. But in the trunk of the car, they found drugs. They found fake, or they can't be fake because the government gives it to them, passports, weapons, all of that was in there. What were they doing there? This is where capitalism comes in. Turkey has been kind of a closed economy, and the transition to capitalism is slow. But in 1990s, after the 1980 military coup, the economy was integrated into imperialism, and the IMF measures and the privatizations had to happen. So they're privatizing a government bank. And we're going to come to the roles of the banks in Turkey. It's unbelievable today. So they're privatizing a bank, and they are getting credits without any collateral or anything from the government banks. And a certain place in Turkey, they were going to open up for gambling. And the prices are going to shoot up the roof. So these people were out there grabbing land, buying it for dirt cheap from hungry peasants, ready to have a profit of maybe 1,000 times. But what it shows is that by that time, the gangs were up to their eyeballs in privatizations, in banking, working with the government, and businessmen and the police. The guy who died was the police chief.
So they had carte blanche opportunity to engage in stealing and
They were right
basically looting.
up to their eyeballs. They were doing. You could not separate them from each other. That's the problem. You cannot say, let's look at the gangs. No, you have to look at the state. You have to look at capitalism. This is what they are doing. And this is what we are seeing today. I mean, it went on.
Well, with the privatization of Turkey, the United States was centrally involved in that through the IMF and the World Bank. And Thomas Eagleton was the ambassador, Secretary of State. And he was actually personally involved in buying up the telecom in Turkey. So American capitalists or American government officials themselves were involved in basically privatizing the economy of Turkey. And was this the reason for the military role to stop the left, stop the growth of the left, and allow for basically the privatization of the...
Very good observation, yes, because right before the military coup, 1980, which changed the fate of Turkey, was what we call the January 24 reforms. They were mandated by IMF. You have to do this. It's not if and buts or anything, you got to do this. So they tried. They passed reforms of privatization and then they looked, no, people are resisting. People are resisting. This is not going to happen. And that's when the September 1980 coup happens and the left is destroyed. But in doing...
And then that 1980 coup was organized with the support of the United States by the United States.
Very much, yes. Brzezinski, Carter's advisor, he's the one that calls Paul Henze, the CIA station chief of Turkey. He says, by that time Paul Henze has moved, but he says, hey, your boys are at it again. And Paul Henze says, yes, our boys have done it. And these are the... One thing is that the chief, the top general that did the coup, he was also the chief of staff, okay? He had been approached by that social democrat prime minister many times, asking about the stay behind army. And every time this general had said, oh, definitely, we have to look at this. I mean, this is an independent country. We can't allow things like this to happen. I'll investigate. Next time, oh yeah, I'm looking at it. I'm working. Next time, yeah, we're on. Then it turns out that he was the chief of the special forces. He was the head of it in Turkey. And the tortures and the killings of the leftists.
How many people were killed in that coup?
I believe, close to 1,000. But maybe 500,000 or 1 million people went through tortures. It was just horrendous. But
was the CIA involved in those?
CIA up to its eyeballs involved in it. Look, the military people and the top police chief, which we're going to come to, he says that every single torture device that we had was given to us by the CIA. We didn't have torture devices. We didn't know those telephones, whatever. No, all those. CIA was applied, and there were pictures that were published with "Made in the USA" labels on them on how to torture things. But even coming before that, there was another military guy who read those CIA field manuals, number 30 and 31. Remember, the journalist who was going to expose it disappeared. So this guy starts writing about it. And he says, what kind of a country are we that we allow another country's intelligence services to come and run our country? What the hell is happening there? Guess what happened? Got killed. Got killed. So this is where how we come here today, okay? Now, problem is that the Erdogan government has taken it to the utmost limit on privatization, selling off whatever they have, including their mamas, they're selling.
And the U.S. loved Erdogan.
They are the ones who brought him. Look, nobody knew about Erdogan. He was just a stupid local government official. Just tell me, how many local government officials that nobody knows about the U.S. ambassador goes to visit in his office? And then when Erdogan was put into prison because he recited a very violent poem, an Islamic poem on how they will kill and militarize and da-da-da-da-da, he goes to prison. The minute he comes out, who is there to greet him? The U.S. ambassador. Why? Because Erdogan is promising two sides. One is that he is pretending to be for democracy, for freedoms, against military coups and everything. So the left is kind of like finding him a little appealing. Yeah, this is what. But on the other hand, he stands for capitalist reconstruction, to sell out everything. There is a nice video of him holding out his wedding ring. He says, this is how I am coming to the government. If one day you see me having more than this ring, you have to call me a thief. Today, he's one of the wealthiest politicians in the face of the earth.
He has palaces paid for by the government.
Not only that, his wife owns numerous hospitals. His son is into shipping oil. His son-in-law just disappeared with $128 billion from the treasury. And it's illegal today to ask, where is the $128 billion? This sentence alone will get you into prison.
And journalists have been imprisoned, killed in Turkey for reporting and writing about these things. So it's
very much
your life in danger.
Oh yeah, Turkey is the #1 country in the world that has journalists in prison. But life seemed to go along this line. Although the leftists and some very honest journalists were reporting the abuses, the corruption that's oozing out of the ears of the country, nobody paid attention until a gangster, one of the gangsters, had a fallout with another gangster who was getting more projects and money from the government. Very interesting. This gangster who was involved in killing the Asala members outside of Turkey, he was sent over. He comes back, he kills his wife too. And so they put him in prison. But the party that Turkish set up, the National Action Party, the Nazi party, the head of it today insisted that that gangster should be let go from the prison. And he was. As soon as he gets out, he writes to this other gangster called Sedat Peker. he writes to him saying that your time is done. I'm going to put skirts on you and make you dance on top of tables. So Sedat Peker, you may want to, I don't know, edit this. He says, the only thing you can do is put a condom on little Peker. And they started fighting. But the Peker guy had to leave the country. He first goes to Bulgaria and Moldavia, and he says that he's getting his PhD, his study. And then what happens is he disappears for a while, that we know of, and then he starts coming out with these videos. Now Turkey is shaking because he's naming names and he's telling all the corruption that's going on. He's actually not challenging them. All he's saying is this: guys, get me in too. I had a wonderful life. I love my life. I'm making money hand over fist.
And what was he involved in?
Oh, he's involved in so many things. First of all, he is a thug. The ruling party, AKP, one senator did not like another senator. So the police goes and catches that senator and takes him to the police station. This Peker thug goes to the police station, and while that senator is under incarceration there, beats him to a pulp. He says, we had to break his bones. That was the order. Not only that, but after the senator gets gets out and everything, goes back to the assembly, they go to the National Assembly again and beat him once again to a pulp there.
This is in Erdogan's own party.
Erdogan's own party, yes. It's like one Democrat calling for the other Democrat to be beaten up. So he's involved in this. He's involved in many levels of corruption and taking over of businesses. This is why we need to discuss the nature of capitalism these days. Capitalism, in order to understand these gangs and what they're doing, we have to understand the environment they're in. And this environment, the capitalism of a neo-colonial country, okay? What I'm trying to say here is that capitalism is different in the metropolitan countries, central countries, and in the neo-colonial.
But there's corruption and murders.
Yes,
and
of course. And
I mean, so it's in other countries. But in relationship to this guy, it seems like he was centrally involved.
Look, he is organizing AKP's mass rallies. He's personally organizing it. Business community gave him 2 awards, saying, like making him the top business person of the year, and allowed him to operate, and people were getting in line to have their photographs taken with him. He was elected as the representative of Turks in the world by all the Turkic countries, Kyrgyzstan and Yakutistan and this and that. So he is a representative of both capitalism and being Turkish. He comes from the Grey Wolf tradition.
Was he a Grey Wolf?
Of course he was. Not only that, but today the Grey Wolf mass, let me say, worship him. He's their idol.
He was a celebrity.
Very big celebrity. Very big. Look, I'm telling you, he is organizing the AKP, the ruling parties, Erdogan's parties, mass rallies. He's the one who brings people in. Okay, if you don't believe me, then look at this. Süleyman Soylu, the interior minister, gives this guy, the thug, the gangster, a official, very expensive armored car with police bodyguards that follow him together with him, travel together with him, even outside the country. And the car has sirens and flashers and everything. This is all government. So he is right smack in the middle of everything. And he is now exposing how these people get rich.
And how did this happen, that he broke?
Oh, because he was... It's a long story, but there are cliques inside the government. One clique is the son-in-law of Erdogan. He was the finance minister. And he is such a BSer that even his party was puking because nobody would, one word that he said, when the dollar was going through the roof in Turkey and people were concerned, Turkish money is falling, he says, why are you so worried? You are not getting paid in dollars. So, I mean, it was this level of stupidity.
And he was in charge of the economy.
Of the finance economy, yes.
Don't worry about the dollar.
Don't worry about the dollar. Everything is beautiful. Many Turks, AKP followers still and truly believe that the world is jealous of Turkey. Just few days ago, Erdogan himself, you know what he said? He said, Americans came to visit us here and they said they were jealous. They wished that they had this in United States. And people believe it. So there is a clique of Erdogan's son-in-law who disappeared about 5 months ago, one night, with a tweet. He said, because of health reasons, I'm resigning. That's all. And nobody has seen him since. But together with him, disappeared $128 billion from the treasury. One night. Finished. Gone. This is one clique. The other clique is operating with other businessmen who are getting the government contracts. Okay? And so they want more. Erdogan's son-in-law wants more. So that's why they had a fallout. And what's his name? Sedat Peker was with one of them. So that's why he fell from grace.
So he was on the outs.
He was on the outs.
He was following a faction or a support of a faction that lost out in the struggle over
That's life in the big city. So, but his leaving is very interesting. Because he leaves first, and then he's allowed to come back. And he talks with the interior minister. And he leaves again, but this time his family also leaves. This is when he starts making the videos, not before his family leaves. Actually, his family's home was raided by the police. And this is one of the things that riled him. He says, how come you brought male officers to my home when I'm not there and search my home when my wife's undies are in the drawers and they're looking at them? Would a man ever do this? So this is his point. Anyway, so he is now in Dubai and he makes these videos, like you said, tens of millions of people are watching, and there he ridicules the interior minister. One thing, he says, this is what really made him mad, is that he's talking to the interior minister. He says, you were my ticket to come back. You told me to leave. We got the tickets, everything. And then I was supposed to come back, and you do this trick on me? You won't let me come back? They got rid of him. That's what the Turkish government did. So now he's exposing the business relationships of the government officials and the private enterprises. And it's sickening. The interior minister, he claims, interior minister's brother has opened an office in, there are 2 towers in Ankara that were made, and they were built completely illegally. The courts, the local government took injunctions to say, no, you cannot build this. Stop the construction. The judge that annulled this on a legal holiday, he went to his office on a legal holiday at night and he turned it around and he is seen with the owners of the tower. He's vacationing with the owners of tower. And we'll come back to the hotel that he stayed. Okay? So, Süleyman Soylu's, the interior minister's brother, has an office in one of these towers. What they do is this: blackmail. And this is very very prominent in Turkey these days of making business, is that they threaten businessmen and others, rich people, saying that we have information that you have been working with Fethullah Gulen, FETÖ, which is who supposedly tried a military coup in 2016 and wasn't successful, but it's a very suspicious military coup. But now he's considered a terrorist, and he was the, like bosom brother of Erdogan all his life. They worked together and everything. So what they do is they threaten a businessman saying, we have information that you've been working for Gulen. So now the guy panics, gets lawyers and everything, and then they say, oh, his brother. They tell him to go and talk to him. And his interior minister's brother says, if you can give us just 10 million euros, I think we can fix and set you free. And they do, and he's free to do. And Süleyman Soylu was the owner of an insurance company. In the last 3 years, the insurance company grew 54 times what it was. And Süleyman Soylu himself says, the interior minister says, I love going to that office and listening to the printer print out policies all night long. I love that sound, he said. Well, what happened is that the entire government assets are insured in his insurance company, THY, Turkish Airlines. He gets all the... So this is how they make the money. And Sedat Peker is exposing these. And so he is blaming the interior minister because he got rid of him, threw him outside the country and cannot come back. But he's very careful not to touch Erdogan. When he talks about Erdogan, he says, my big brother Erdogan, we will resolve these among us. But he says, I will never cross you, but my loyalty is to my country and my state. I will never ever talk against it. But then Erdogan was very silent for a long time. And finally, Erdogan had to come up because of all this criticism, everything.
His family, his whole government is corrupt.
Everything he touches and the air that he is around is corrupt. So, and he took the side of the interior minister. Hey, this is the state. They have the power here. Who's this thug talking, elsewhere? But then, Sedat Peker said that he'll expose more. And he said, Tayyip, my big brother, I'll talk to you next week. And what happened is that he was in a secret location in Dubai, secret, with his family. Some Russian-talking gangsters went to Dubai and raided his home. They couldn't find Sedat Peker, but we don't know the details, but Dubai officials took him, for questioning. They questioned him for 24 hours. He's now released, I think. He's sending Twitters. So he is naming names. And this is now when we should start talking about the relationship of the gangsters and capitalism. Very interesting. Nobody had noticed, and life was going on until Sedat Peker said, you guys should look at the Paramount Hotel. What is this? A Paramount Hotel. I didn't know it. We have a house in that, little town. It's a very popular place. I never knew about it. What had happened is that a businessman got funds from the government, and we're going to come to the banks, how banks are being used. And he builds a hotel there, which changes names and, administration and everything. And he is operating there, a gentleman, 81 years old, and a businessman and everything. So a guy from Uzbekistan comes, and he's a wanted guy, okay? He's a wanted guy. He comes with cash loads of money, and he buys the compound. His name is Butter. And then Ali Uras, his family, comes and takes it over from him. They scare him somehow. But he needs this, he can't operate, so, and he's very old. So, and he lives in the compound, in a, villa inside this. This hotel, one night is $15,000. Just one night to stay there. And as the family, let's say, is operating this, they are forced to sell this because they enter his villa and they steal the bonds from his case. And these bonds appear in a Balkan country somewhere, I forgot, Maldives maybe, is a company that was formed a few weeks ago with $2,500. They suddenly own the whole thing. So all these tricks are happening like this. And the family is owed a lot of money, which they don't pay. So this businessman comes in, another businessman. He's into making trucks and weapons for the Turkish army. Okay, and he comes in with a tank to this compound to take over the entire hotel. With a tank, Turkish army tank. Now, the latest, just yesterday's news, the family's daughter exposed this, coming with a tank and everything and so on and so forth. And she's staying in a hotel that overlooks to the Istanbul Bosphorus, the Istanbul Straits. Last week, 3 days, a drone has been coming to her window and filming the entire compound and her staying place. Okay, now, the central piece in this is this hotel. This hotel was bought by a businessman called Korkmaz. He was owed $45 million. Okay?
By who?
By this guy, Korkmaz, buys the hotel. But the deal is not finished because he still needs to get paid $45 million. Interior Minister Süleyman Soylu, his brother was he calls this businessman. And by the way, this businessman can't enter United States. You know why? Because him and two brothers, business partners, have defrauded the US government for $510 million. They can't enter the United States. They are wanted fugitives. And now he can't enter Turkey too, because the same trick they have on other businesses to take over business, they've done to him too. So the interior minister calls him, and he goes to the office. They tell him, look, the courts are about to catch you. You are about to go to prison. Here are the terms. We changed the court ruling. Court had already ruled for him to go to prison for money laundering. They changed the court ruling, and then they say, you're going to forget about that $45 million. Nobody's going to pay you that. Forget about it. Just be glad that you saved your life. Leave the country, and that's it. So he leaves to go to Switzerland, where he has hotels, and he's staying there now. And that's when they take over the whole hotel. But his history is the same. There was another hotel, Kervansaray Hotel, which was being sold, put on the market for $96 million. But when he entered the bid, all sales were off. They said, we are taking the hotel from the market. And a few days later, he buys the same hotel for $47 million. It was in the market for 96. He buys it for $47 million, and a couple of months later, he sells it for $225 million. This is how capitalism is working now. Okay, and the Paramount Hotel. Let's come to that. I mean, in a hotel where a night is $15,000, who's staying there? Actually, nobody. Nicole Kidman went there for the opening, but who is staying there are government officials, judges, police chiefs, and journalists. Now, one thing that came out of this is that the owner, who's in Switzerland now, the guy who can't come to the United States for the defrauding of $510 million, so on and so forth, he loves journalists. This is a businessman, wealthy, rich. I mean, he's, in corporations you have the employee of the month. You know what he gives to the employee of the month? He gives his private jet for a week to go anywhere in the world, spend anything you like for a week. So this is the type of guy we're talking about. And he loves journalists and he loves impressing them. And what we are seeing in Turkey today is that journalism is finished. All the good journalists are in prison. And what we have today is what you're going to hear right now, is that a journalist that is a graduate of religious, studies. He loves Islam, the morals, and, living by your means and worshiping and everything. A tape came out. He's talking on the phone. He calls this businessman in Switzerland. And he says, look, I know there are cliques and things in the government that don't like you and they want to get you. But you know what? We can fix this. Don't worry. Just send me 10 million euros. This is a journalist, the religious journalist. I'll keep that with me. Don't worry. And I'll fix this so you can come back to the country freely as if nothing happened. This is a journalist. These are the journalists who are writing on the miracles that Turkey is now doing in economics. And another guy, Hürriyet was the newspaper of record in Turkey. It was a right wing, but it was the representative of the deep state, the army, the deep state, not the government. So the government bank, Ziraat Bankası, which is an agricultural bank, gives him $750 million of credit. For years, he has not paid one red penny of either the money or the interest. $750 million. He immediately goes to Hürriyet newspaper, buys it, changes it. The next day, Hürriyet starts writing the miracles of Turkey, Erdogan is the and all of this. Sabah newspaper, Çalık Group also gets a huge credit from the government banks. They come and take over the next biggest paper, and now you have that licking the behind of the government and Erdogan. Same bank, Ziraat Bank is the agricultural bank. The farmers are committing suicide. They can't even run their tractors because they can't get $10 of credit. The same bank goes to the Bahamas. And the telecom giant you were talking about in Turkey goes there too. Look, two Turkish businesses and a Turkish bank. They go to the Bahamas to deal and wheel and deal. And the bank gives this guy huge credit to buy the telecom giant. Now we have to talk about where does this money come from? And there's, oh yeah, that hotel. Why is that hotel important? Like I said, nobody, oh yeah, that's very interesting. Nobody that stays there pays any bills. $15,000 a night, but nobody pays a single dime. It is all to impress journalists like this and buy them off. So they are inside this. They think they are somebody now. But also the judge, I talked to you about, being, letting the towers be built. He stays there for 20 days. And they ask him, how did you pay for it? He says, oh, I have a wealthy family. And they said, on a judge's salary, which is about at most $1,000. And then they show him the car that he's riding. I mean, in Turkey, the cars are like about 3 times what you would buy here today, the same car, because of the taxes and everything. So he has these armored Mercedes cars and everything. He says, oh, you should see the other judges. They have better cars than me. So this is where we have come to. And one thing is that, again, the corruption, the business. The ex-prime minister Binali Yıldırım, he was an AKP. He's, buddies with Erdogan all his life and everything. He is an expert on transportation. And he has companies in the world about transportation. His son has, nobody knows how many ships he has, but at least 30 ships. 30 ships they have. They transport oil, they transport this and that. But recently, in Colombia, this is what Sedat Peker says in his video. He says, why isn't there even an investigation of this? In Colombia, the Colombian government, for heaven's sake, they captured a ship bound for Turkey with the company address, company name, the port of entry, everything, with 5 tons of cocaine in it. 5 tons. Now, I don't know if you know, but Turkey is the hub of drugs these days. It became like that after the Afghan war. The drugs used to come from Afghanistan and distributed to Europe. Now the drugs are coming from Latin America to Turkey. And Europe is not a good place to do. It's cheap. People buy cocaine very cheap there. They buy it, the gram is $23 in Europe. In Arab countries, it's 45. So now the drugs are coming to Turkey, and from there goes to Arab republics. Dubai, Arab Emirates, Kuwait. This shipping company is involved in these. Suddenly, this shipping company is buying ports around the world. Now Turkey has 50 ports around the world that it operates, shipping ports. And they've opened up to Latin America. Ecuador's ports, Turkey is managing it. Yıldırım's company, this ex-prime minister's company. But after this catching of the Colombians of the cocaine, the DEA, United States DEA, is also tightening the screws. So Prime Minister's son, ex-Prime Minister's son, the shipping guy, flies to Venezuela. Now they are trying to pull Venezuela into this. Remember that Venezuela has always been designated, although it is not, by the United States as the hub of drugs. Right next to it, Colombia is world-renowned. But no. So now the guy flies to Venezuela, Caracas, and wants to buy either the port or a warehouse in the port. But the Venezuelans don't do it. Now this news comes up. Even before that, what happens is that about a month ago, 2 months ago, in Venezuela, the government captured a truck full of white cheese. And when they opened the boxes all those cheeses were actually cocaine. So they captured that. And right at that time, the ex-prime minister's shipping son goes to Venezuela, and people are talking about importing cheese from Venezuela. First of all, Venezuela doesn't produce cheese. Venezuela, even if it produced cheese, doesn't have enough for itself. So that story dies. And then, now people want him to explain why he went to Venezuela. And they come up with this. This is early 2020. They say that one night he heard that Venezuela had COVID. He felt so bad, the son of the ex-prime minister, that he pulled, he put together masks and
a
care package and flew that out of his good heart to help the Venezuela. At that time, Turkey had more than 3,200 COVID cases, and Venezuela had 300. So he goes to help the Venezuelans. But then, again, people, start asking, so where's the customs report of this? He can't produce one. So they say, oh, it was in his handbag. He took handbag full of masks to help me. So what I'm saying is that these guys are operating all over the world, and they are up to their eyeballs in cocaine, in drugs, and that's why Turkey is now vying to get the Kabul airport security. Just yesterday, Erdogan talked with Biden, and he was pushing this. Turkey wants to be the security and operational, organization of Kabul airport when the United States leaves. That leaves it open for opium to be transported to Turkey and then again, of course. I did not know this until very recently, that Istanbul now is the world's second city that uses drugs in the world. I had no idea. But this is where we have become now. And this, all these wealth that is being accumulated, it is not by simple capitalist exploitation of, surplus value. But I am wondering whether we have come, because of the crisis of capitalism, to a new era. Remember, we had the competitive capitalism until we had the monopoly capitalism of imperialism come in. But now I think we are seeing the emergence of a gangster capitalism.
But capitalists have always been involved in corruption.
Thank you. What is the closure of the commons?
That's not new. So
yeah.
But the other thing is imperialism and the role of the United States in Turkey, and the Turkey trying to be involved in expanding their empire in Syria.
With the permission of the U.S.?
Did he talk about the relationship of Turkey to Syria and...
Oh yeah, and that's what angered them, because he is very open about it. He talked about how the government used to hide his weapons inside the humanitarian shipments to Syrian terrorists. Turkey is sending vegetables, but underneath it, weapons supplied by Sedat Peker. He says, I did it, I know, I put them there. But he brags about it. He shows pictures of jeeps, of walkie-talkies, of bulletproof vests that he has provided. And that's why he has a very solid base in the Grey Wolves, because they believe that this is for the Turkish cause. Of course we should be there. Turkey should grab whatever it can from Syria and Iraq and kill all the Kurds. And our brother Sedat Peker is helping this. What do you want? What else do you want?
Now, there was an incident of a car, or some vehicles which were carrying weapons were stopped by the military. What was that incident all about? That
is the fallout between Fethullah Gülen and Erdogan, actually. because the Turkish government, the intelligence unit, MIT it's called, it's like the CIA of United States, they had trucks full of weapons, again disguised as food and rationing and humanitarian aid, going to Syria. What happened is that a unit of the military, and this is all on video, I have the videos, stopped them on the highway. They pull them to the side, and they start searching the trucks, and weapons are up to the brim with them. So this started the fallout. It was a warning to Erdogan by Fethullah Gülen. Again, we are talking about gangs. Fethullah Gülen is the model of organizing gangs. He organized the police force. By how? He was organizing the students. I don't know, poor students come to the cities to study and everything because they don't have schools in there. Yeah. So they approach these poor kids and they say, how about a big brother help you out with your classes? We'll teach you and we'll get you prepared for the tests. So they make them live in houses that were organized by Fethullah's religious organization. But it's not only religious. Fethullah Gülen is a world-known spy and a CIA asset that was banned from many countries after they found out that he was opening schools all over the world. Bill Clinton was going around the world asking world leaders to please allow Fethullah Gülen to open schools in their countries. Bill Clinton, personally. But it turns out that his operation is nothing but spies. And when, again, for businesses and Erdogan's ego started to go up, Fethullah was telling him, be careful. I got you there with the trucks, intelligence trucks. And then, of course, Erdogan shot back at him and he destroyed Gülen's organization. Finally, 2016, when this fake coup happened against Erdogan, Erdogan had all the mechanism to accuse Fethullah Gülen for being behind the coup, and that way Erdogan wiped out everybody that was opposing him. So that was the operation against Fethullah. But that particular operation that you are mentioning was done by Fethullah to show Erdogan that, hey, you know what? I can do damage to you.
And Gülen, of course, came to the United States in Pennsylvania with the support of the CIA.
Not only support, but a letter from Graham Fuller, the CIA chief of the time. He wrote a letter saying that allow him, yes, he's a good guy. And this guy is nothing but, trouble. He lives in Pennsylvania in a secluded house, and helicopters keep coming and going to his compound.
And he set up schools, charter schools.
Charter schools here in California. He has charter schools.
Magnolia.
That's how he makes money. Yes, it's a money laundering scheme also. Like in United States. In California, you open a school for American kids and you bring Turkish teachers to come teach English to American students? What is going on here? What's going on is that these teachers get paid a lot, but then they turn around and maybe 90% of their paycheck, they give it back to the organization. Money laundering.
So kickbacks.
Kickbacks, yes. So those teachers are not really teachers, but they are operatives of this organization. In Turkey, that was one of the things Erdogan hit back to Fethullah with. All private schools were everywhere, and nearly most of them were owned by Fethullah. Big moneymaker. And Erdogan closed them all. That's how the fight starts. And Fethullah is a very good operative of organizing gangs. Like I said, those kids that they were organizing in schools, from schools and homes, they were recruiting to the police. And they were listening to Erdogan's phone calls. That's why Erdogan had a hard time, getting rid of the police force, the entire judiciary. Many prosecutors were working for Fethullah Gülen, and they were caught. And of course, there's the Ergenekon side of it, the opposite side, the so-called Kemalist side, which were, all caught because of both FETÖ. So it's a gang war going out there.
And in the United States, of course, the corruption of privatization of education in the United States, they know about the Gulen schools in California, Texas, all over the country, yet there's no national effort to shut them down as money laundering operations and illegally having people give kickbacks. So in the United States, right here with privatization of charter education, the Gulen schools are raking in millions and millions of dollars.
And, from tax breaks, I think it was 1 year, they had $640 million just from the taxes alone they made.
So the U.S. government is actually involved in...
Up to its eyeballs. It is the controller. It pulls the strings. Erdogan cannot go to the bathroom without asking permission from the United States. And these days we are seeing this tension between Biden and Erdogan. Turkey tried to play a game between, I wouldn't say imperialists, but, big boys. Erdogan tried to pit Russia and United States against each other and thought that it could gain a lot from this competition. So Turkey bought S-400 missiles, defense missiles from Russia, the most advanced missiles. Turkey is a NATO country. You don't buy weapons from Russia. And United States told Turkey so. But Turkey said, no, it's okay, it's for, good reason, and so on and so forth. United States did not have any of that. He said, look, you either give them away or not. Now, let's come to these S-400 missiles. What kind of weapons are they? It's very interesting. You cannot use them internationally. Turkey cannot use them. Which means this, you have to program the missiles to the planes that have certain characteristics, like it should know that these are United States planes, will not go there, this is Greece, but it's all of this. So you cannot use it as a NATO member. Who are you going to use it for? What it is for is to defense of Erdogan personally. It's against the Turkish warplanes. In case there's an uprising or a coup, that's where they want to use it for. You can't, internationally you cannot use those. So, but the United States is not having it. United States took Turkey out of the F-35 program. Turkey was producing some parts of the F-35 fighter jets. Turkey paid for the jets that it bought, but jets are not being delivered until these S-400s are resolved. And it was very funny. Yesterday, Biden and Erdogan met. Before going to Biden, Erdogan said, I'm going to talk about this acceptance of the Armenian genocide. We're going to discuss that and we're going to resolve that. And he was very adamant about it. So this is before he went into the meeting. After he came out, the journalist asked, what happened to the Armenian genocide issue? He said, thank heaven, it never came up. So this is the position. Turkey tried to play two sides, but Turkey has made, finally, I believe, a choice on the side of the United States. Why? Because Turkey is putting together the drones, war drones. You may have heard that this was about 2 or 3 weeks ago. For the first time in human history, a drone, without getting an order from the humans, decided who was an enemy, pursued and bombed a certain place, completely independent of human will. That was a Turkish drone in Libya. And Turkey is now giving drones to Ukraine and has agreed to sell, which country was that? It has a problem with Russia also. So Turkey is now providing the drones, war drones, to those two countries that have problems with Russia. And Russia is not having it either. And they told Turkey in in very openly that they can't do this. They better put their things in order. So Turkey is in a very, very bad position. Economy has collapsed. All the projects that the country wanted to do, like you said, is going and grabbing Syrian land, Libya, Iraq, everywhere that they try to go in Aegean Sea, Cyprus, they've lost everything. That's why every other week Erdogan gives the good news that in the Black Sea they found natural gas and it's going to be 10 billion gallons of it, and the gas prices go up. Nobody believes him anymore. But we have to understand something. As the liberal journalists, I was listening to them yesterday. I mean, they're good journalists and everything, but these guys are liberals. They don't understand the situation. They keep on saying, well, the truth will come out and then we'll see what happens. Let the truth come out and nobody can stand the truth. No, these guys don't give a rat's ass about the truth. This is power. This is how you do business. Do you think that they'll give up their cocaine business because some stupid newspaper wrote the truth? Everybody knew the truth before Sedat Peker started publishing the videos. Everybody knew it. But now this information comes from within. But it doesn't mean that it will bring down the government. That's what the liberals are thinking. This is going to bring down Erdogan. No, it will not. He's not there in a popularity contest. He has the army in his hand. He has the police. He has the intelligence. He has the grey wolves. He has all the power in his hand. Like we always say, fascists don't go with elections. They don't go with elections.
And the repression of students, privatization of public resources, the Gezi, the park, all private. Is that continuing in Turkey?
The resistance continues, but we've never seen, even under the military rule, we have not seen it this bad. I mean, there is no law. There is no, look, the entire judicial system is looking at Erdogan's lips to do what he says. Look at a gangster, a mafia leader comes and we haven't even talked about the journalist that these guys killed. He's talking about it on the video. There was a journalist in Cyprus, the so-called Turkish Cyprus side, but he was a progressive. He was writing good, investigative stories. So they come to Sedat Peker, the government, the officials, police officials come to him and say, we need to kill this guy. Sedat Peker says, if it's for my country, yes, of course we will do, but I'm not that good in that side of it in Cyprus and so, but I know somebody, my brother. My brother will do the job for you. So his brother and Turkish government officials go all on a plane with their weapons. They go and they surveil the journalist's home for several days. And so they decide that next day the journalist is going to be killed. But then that morning the news comes that he's already been killed. He was killed already. No need for you guys. Thank you. Don't call us, we'll call you. So they come back to the country. He's telling names. Which officer went to Cyprus with his brother to kill whom? And now Cyprus is all up in flames. They are saying, what the hell? Why don't you have an investigation? We came here because of the... Look, there are admissions of murder, admissions of bribery, admissions of all this filth. Not one prosecutor has said anything. One judge. He said, look at all this happening. How can we be silent? He's gone immediately. Next morning. Finished. Just for saying that. You're saying about the resistance. I mean, It is heroic what the people are doing. They're trying to find anything that they can do it. Just recently, the Turkish Communist Party, or the Communist Party of Turkey, they had a rally, and there was like about 500 people or so protesting the gangs. But then police attacks them, and they're arrested immediately. I mean, Women's Day, forget about politics, Steve. Just to celebrate Women's Day, you should see how those women were beaten by the cops. Like there's nothing. So you cannot even ask, where is the $128 billion? That's an insult to president. They say, you are insulting the president, so you go to prison. Journalists, the liberal journalists I was there, anything they say, oh yeah, you know what I can say and what I cannot say, so I'm not going to say it here now. I don't want to get your channel into trouble. Everything they are saying is like this. Yeah, I know his name, but I can't tell it here. The guy who's taking bribes. I can't say it here, but he says, if the prosecutors open a case, they can call me, I'll go in and testify, but I can't say it publicly. So this is the level Turkey has come to. But this is the structure of neocolonial systems where you cannot fool the people.
That sounds like the United States.
It is. The United States will become like this.
Isn't it already, the corruption in the United States?
But see, there are two different ways.
That's another issue. But the corruption in the United States is endemic.
Of course it is. Of course it is. When you go down to the essence, it's all grab. It's nothing fair or just or anything like that. Who grabs from whom? But one does it in a more, nice way where nobody sees. The other one, they don't have the universities.
Hunters Point,
yeah.
Island, that corruption. And
exactly.
Lenar, Pelosi, Kamala Harris,
They're up to
Gavin
their
Newsom.
eyeballs.
The massive
But
corruption.
this is capitalism. What do we expect? This is how the system was formed. It's in its DNA. It doesn't matter Turkey, United States, England, or Mexico. But it will go. It's just the show, the theater that goes on with it. One has the beautiful stage and the sound system and the lights and everything that draws you into it. The other one is, just... So that's why, but important thing here is that we should not expect the changes in Turkey, like the liberals do, to come in just because the truth finally comes out.
And the truth is coming out.
Truth is coming out. But what are you going to do? Anybody talks about it, they crack the heads. The military
and the opposition parties, what do they say about it?
Oh, you wanna know what the opposition is doing during all this? Okay, one of the things that happened is that this Sedat Peker, the guy who produces the videos, he heard that in one corner of Istanbul there was a father and daughter business of. They had a coffee shop. They had a nice grind coffee that people liked, and people around started to hear about this and. So they go and take over the coffee shop. When he did, he gave coffee bags to the ruling party so that in elections they can throw it to people, free coffee, and get votes. The opposition is right on it. They want to know, of all these things we talked about today, one thing they want to know, why didn't the ruling party pay for those coffees? This is what they are talking tonight.
This is the opposition.
This is the opposition.
Where's the coffee?
Where is it? Why wasn't it paid? This is where we are.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. We've been talking with Mehmet Bayram about the crisis of corruption, gangster capitalism, and corruption in Turkey, and capitalism and imperialism.
And imperialism, yes.
It's all combined.
Because nothing would happen without the knowledge of the United States, the CIA, the DEA, all this drug dealing, buying and selling. Look at it. They defraud the United States for $510 million and bring that money to Turkey to buy those hotels. And then once you do that, In other words, somebody else comes in and just takes over with a tank.
It's loony.
It's loony.